Building maintenance plans for these guys and building these guys programs to get them ready to go for football perspective. So again, there's a few guys that are not out there, but that's just part of this process of getting to know these guys, getting them into our system and building these guys plans just so, hey, they are ready to go, particularly, for training camp and all that sort of stuff, but just start building these guys up the right way for OTAs and all that fun stuff.
Did Tyson get injured yesterday?
No, again, just similar for these guys. We finally get our hands on these guys. They've been through a lot, whether injuries last year, off-season training and all that sort of stuff. We just put these guys in our system. And similar to last year, you probably saw rookies who were, in and out of different activities. And so very similar to a number of these guys that didn't participate. Yeah, this just be planned just based off of putting together a plan for him.
Just to clarify, so I guess people understand, why do some of these guys already need a maintenance plan on day 2? Is that from things coming in or from
things? Yeah.
Or whatever?
Things, it can be a combination of both. Things coming in, obviously, Jordyn had a number of things that came up last year during the season. So, hey, we got them in our system now, and let's just start building this thing the right way. And, similar to a number of guys we had last year as well.
Well, would that be a similar approach for him during the spring, like during OTA?
Yeah. I mean, early on this acclimation phase, and so we'll get him in there, and we'll just start building it the right way, and we'll take it kind of day by day.
So he was in the building?
Yeah.
So what did you like about Ellen Hare when he goes from a D2 program playing in the Senior Bowl?
Yeah. Really fun exposure. I think his story and his experience is always a fun part of this draft process. Senior Bowl, 30 visit, all that sort of stuff. You get a lot of exposure to different guys. And so credit to him for just kind of, that's one of those positive things of what a portal, an NIL world in college football actually creates a positive, environment. So it allows guys to compete. And when they have opportunities to kind of take the next step, they can do it. And so I think it allows these guys to be more prepared when they come to this level to be ready to go. And so, fired up to have them.
When you mentioned yesterday that Barry Brown is also a wide receiver, is that what you heard?
Yeah, I think certainly, he's had a lot of success at receiver. And so we certainly see that vision for him in addition to the return game that obviously everyone notices.
Was Janeway Crew out there?
Kickers just kicked yesterday, so they weren't kicking today. So just a one day.
So when you have the linemen out there, they can't get a whole lot of work done physically. I guess how much does it help to have had Jeremiah at the Bowl and have had a good look at it?
Yeah, interior D linemen, offense linemen. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit of a challenging venue for them to participate, and so it's a ton of individual work. It's a ton of teaching, and the physical component will come. Obviously, hey, a couple of these guys we did see at the Senior Bowl. Again, added bonus to this whole entire draft process.
For the second year guys who are out here, is that their decision to come out, or is that a request from coaches? Like, how does that happen? It's
based off of what their activity was last year. If they just remained on practice squad, they become available for us. And so, it's a great opportunity for those guys. And what's fun is to see those guys. A number of them were in our rookie camp last year, and now see them. They're the savvy vets out there, knowing everything what to do, and they played well.
So if they were on the practice squad but didn't necessarily play.
If they didn't get an accrued season, so then they become available. So we just had a couple of them. I think what do we have? Probably 6. I think. Yeah.
And if they are eligible, is that their option that they can do, or does the team kind of say?
Yeah, we certainly talked to them. Yeah, we'd love to have them, and obviously these guys are all on board with that.
Do you like to throw a lot of guys? Are they in this, like, people kind of line up a lot of places, a lot of motion? Like, if you kind of like to see how they respond to who's going to happen?
I think taking the guys who obviously we have visions for from a draft pick perspective, free agency perspective, they're going to be with this whole journey. Essentially, they're a week behind our veterans. And so our whole goal is really to expose them to what they just missed out on with the veterans, so that now Monday when they show up, they just hop in there, and they're, weight room's going to be different. They got to work through an acclimation phase with Ted. But other than that, they're with the veterans, and they're at the same pace and speed that those guys are at. And so, there's a few things that may be a little bit challenging. There's a few pieces that's not a cookie cutter, stale, very simple exposure. But I think that's a positive for particularly those guys who obviously will be here for the long haul. And so we just want to get them up to speed as quickly as possible.
As you're looking at child guys, like, how can they make an impression? Like, what does someone need to do in this little, like, 2-day period, 30 snaps? Like, how can they?
Yeah, first impressions are huge. Do you know what you're doing? Obviously, there's a production standpoint to highlight yourself, but I think one of the biggest things is you got to showcase that you know what you're doing and know what the responsibilities are. If you can't get past that step, it's going to be challenging to show that anything else.
That's the line, and I saw you checking him out of early offensive
Yeah.
line. Anything with Jeremiah that kind of impressed you so far as he's done?
Yeah, just a strong guy. Obviously, we saw what he progressed through. Coming from Auburn, his exposure there, playing both sides of the football and all that sort of stuff. These are challenging exposure. So again, most of it's going to be individual work with the offensive line coaches, working through the individual techniques, and then some of the communication stuff, which is huge. And so, good first impression.
What did you like when the kickers yesterday?
Yeah, they just kicked outside, and so we put them outside. And again, both of them were able to kick, which was great. Went through that whole process just like you would in season with our kickers. Go through a full kicking routine of getting those guys as much exposure there, and so positive experience.
Assuming that you've made some changes in how you're operating and like scheduling put together after having the first year as head coach last year, is there anything you'd be able to share just about what you're doing differently this year, or any lessons you've learned from last year?
I think it's just clean up things, try and be as efficient as possible as we go through this. I think our guys have really attacked this offseason program so far. We got just about everyone here, and these guys are going for it every day. And there with Ted and those guys in the weight room. And now that we're getting into some of the football part, the way these guys are attacking this thing, it's really awesome. Really awesome. The leadership that's kind of coming through as we kind of build this thing this way. And so they're really competitive. We're doing a lot of competitive things. Just from a team standpoint, team building standpoint. And so I think it's been great to see all that energy.
To follow up on the thing you're talking about with the rookies being on the same page as the veterans for next year's thing to get them on the same. Is that common across the NFL, or is that like a thing that you want to be going this year? Like, does that take place everywhere?
I would say it's heading more towards that direction. I think there's not every team's necessarily doing a rookie camp this year, just because I think so much of it, again, is the education of these guys have been through a lot the last few months. And a lot of it isn't necessarily football work. It's training for obviously their testing, the travel that comes with the draft process. And then these guys kind of feel like urgency that, okay, I got to get going because, all these veterans are 3+ weeks ahead of us. And so it's about an acclimation process, building these guys up. Again, we want these guys to get acclimated as quickly as possible with the vets. So our approach is, hey, give them as much information as we can, just so they're not too far behind, and then we'll catch them up as we go.
And had that changed from like their time in Dallas to Los kind of thing?
Probably the last few years, it's kind of shifted more towards this. I think being with Brandon in LA kind of did a similar approach, same in Philly. And so the last couple of years, it's been more of this approach. I think it's good. We get enough exposure. We still see these guys. Again, you guys saw it. We did some 7-on-7. There's some competitive components. So you get to see these guys move around. But again, we're not going to compromise their progress through this whole offseason program.
The Tyson, would it be fair to say that it's like still that the hamstring is kind of the ramping up from the
Yeah, he dealt with the hamstring. And obviously, again, we just want to build these guys up the right way. And so that's what's awesome about these last couple of days. Our training staff, our sports performance guys, they really get involved with this, get around these guys. They get some field work. And then we kind of put these guys on different plans just to be really successful.
And then about like training camp, the expectation would be 100%. Like we'll probably see some of this throughout.
Yeah, again, every guy's going to be on different planes here. Again, we focus on, hey, building these guys up the right way through this whole offseason program. When you get to the veterans, will be here. Again, you guys will see phase 3. There'll be veterans in similar plans where, hey, they may be limited to certain exposures. Again, we're building these guys up so that the whole goal is OTAs is just a continuous build up. And then when they leave this place, they just keep going on their own for a few weeks. And then training camp, we just keep going. And so different than, OTAs and take this long break and go back to ground zero, first level. Like, let's just keep building. And so that's the goal for all these guys.
I know we were talking about, you had mentioned Delp's ability with special teams, yesterday and his potential with that. But, from the first 2 days, I know there was a lot of talk heading into the draft about his traits and his impressive traits he shows and how it could resonate at NFL level. Have you kind of gotten confidence in that, like through any traits that he's shown through these first couple of days? And what else has impressed you?
Yeah, I'd just say good first exposure. Obviously, he has athleticism. We saw that on film. The physicality, I think, in which he plays with will show up as we progress, particularly in pads. That'll be a big part of this thing because, from a tight end perspective, that's a deep group now, which is a positive. Not everyone's going to catch a football every time. And so guys are going to do some dirty work, and he's certainly shown he's capable of that. And then the special teams component, I think, is going to be an added bonus. Some of these guys, maybe Delp, for example, they don't do as much special teams in college, because they're premier players. They're playing on offense and defense, and they're playing these, very defined roles. Well, here we're going to ask them to do that, and that's going to be a huge part of our success. And we need these guys to really embrace it. And so it's been great to see those guys out there. I mean, special teams from college to the NFL, it's very different. I mean, the kickoff's different, the punt setup's different. These are all a lot of times trained skills that these guys don't have as much exposure to.
I saw Jeremiah and Will Flapp having a moment earlier with Will getting into that new role. How do you maybe see that bridge, if you will, between switching over to between him and older coaches?
Will's awesome. I've been fortunate. I was with him in LA. Then last year, obviously having him here I think what was a great opportunity, a blessing in disguise. Obviously, he got hurt, and that's a challenge. But we kind of got to see him in a different lens, and the way he kind of started mentoring guys last year and putting himself in a little bit more of a coaching approach to the week, I thought was really beneficial. And so when we Jari had the opportunity to go to Pittsburgh, we were excited for Jari, but we obviously had to make a decision, and it was a really simple decision at that point. I mean, Will knows this thing inside and out. He's played at a really high level for a number of years in this league, and so his communication with these guys, I think, is going to be excellent.
When it comes to the star slot position, you mentioned before that there were players in the building that you feel like could potentially compete there. Are any of those players in scenarios like this that do you feel like you could find somebody that also from this group competes there too?
Yeah. We got veterans, we got young guys, we got a lot of guys that we're excited to give them exposure, and so that'll be great.
And with the guy that's returning like Jordyn Tyson, is he somebody that could be in that consideration? What have you seen from him that maybe could get?
Yeah, JP's done a nice job. He hopped in, he plays UFL right into our season and just started playing football. He's kind of gone through this year-round process so far. And so, again, I think it's a great example. He's a veteran. And when veterans come to these type of opportunities, you like to see that they're kind of the guys running the show. And that's what you see. And so he had a really good season last year as far as developing on the practice squad, all the developmental opportunities he had. He played really steady. And so this will be a great opportunity for him.
Will the rookies do anything tomorrow or?
Tomorrow will be off.
You mentioned that you've seen some leaders emerge through this offseason programming so far. Who are some of those names, and how do those see them take a step forward?
There's going to be a bunch. And I think that's the part, is not defining leaders this time of year. Let these guys just kind of all embrace the opportunity to lead in different capacities. Obviously, Tyler's going to do a ton just naturally in his role and his position on offense. Getting guys like Caden back. Caden was here, left, comes back. He's a much seasoned veteran now that he's back, and he's led a team for a couple of years now at starting linebacker. And so we just got a bunch of these guys, and I think the cool part is just we don't have to define 4 or 5 of them. Let them all go. They'll all lead in their different capacities, and we'll just let it build from there.
Do you recall anything specific about how Brock Steiner ended up being one of the tryout receivers here?
That would be a personnel department. I think they do an awesome job of really researching this through this whole process, and so. I thought from my vantage point, I thought I did a really good job out there, took advantage of this opportunity. Again, there's so many guys on your roster, and so you kind of got to navigate this thing as you go. But, for these guys where you have an opportunity to sign, where you don't have an opportunity to sign at this moment, an exposure, that's a good exposure. Things happen through an entire offseason, and so you stay ready. But I thought you did a really nice job out there.
I'm surprised if you are, but are you a wrestling guy at all?
I'm not a wrestling guy as much. I think Nick knows I'm a basketball guy, so.
Personnel, say you're the wrestling guy. Right?
Yeah, they did a look.
Shout out to FanDuel, the official sponsor of the show. FanDuel, we up in this thing. Shout out to the family members. Appreciate y'all being in the stream. Please feel free to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on social media feed. We open up the broadcast with Kellen Moore, man. That's the second press conference, the final press conference, rather, of the rookie minicamp that happened for the black and gold this past weekend. And it was a very interesting one. We'll get some of the recap analysis on there. We'll talk about some of the interesting things that occurred during it, as well as, the signings. The Saints ultimately did get all their ducks in a row. They got all of their guys signed to the contract. So we got all that going with everybody from the 2026 rookie class officially under contract. We knew Jordyn Tyson signed his deal. You can see the numbers there. Christen Miller, the second-round draft pick, got his deal together. And then Oscar Delp, Jeremiah Wright, Bryce Lance, Lorenzo Styles Jr., Barrion Brown, and TJ Hall all signed their contracts as the Saints 2026 class looked really good, man. Don't you think? I think these guys actually did. We're looking pretty good. There was a lot of pluses and things that we seen from this squad, to be quite honest with you, family, that we seen in this thing. And one of the more fantastic, here's shout out to NOLA.com. Here's some of the pictures from the rookie minicamp that we seen occur. And you can see some of the signings of players right there and undrafted guys that participate in the camp. And this TJ Hall right there, as we get familiar with some of our players, trial player Eric Butler is there. You can see who's this trial player, Braden Johnson. So, a couple of players that the team did bring in for the rookie minicamp and try it out. So it was very successful. Moose Alford, the big wide receiver, you can see him right there and playing. It's good seeing some of the youngsters, the undrafted guys and otherwise in their uniforms and wearing Saints helmet. This is Oscar Delp, the big tight end, who a lot of people are excited about Oscar. And the fact that I think the Saints are really going to get Oscar as far along as they can to be that third tight end. He has the athleticism. And like I said, he's not, if you study the film, and it's a limited amount of film, I want to say, in terms of him catching the ball, because he really didn't do a lot of that at Georgia. But when he did get the ball, soft hands, turns upfield real quick, he's faster. He's actually faster than indicated. He gets upfield quick. He falls forward. He also can block. He could be a better blocker. He ain't a knockdown, drag out by a blocker. He's done a solid job, but he can get better. Solid blocker. But he is really interesting in terms of catching the ball, getting upfield. And that was the pick that I looked at like, damn, you got Oscar Delp in the third round pick. And there were a couple of other tight ends the Saints were looking at that were, I ain't gonna say as good as Oscar Delp, but right around the same vicinity as Oscar. The tight end from Cincinnati, it's a couple of tight ends that they looked at that they brought in for a look-see that were also very interested. But nonetheless, I can appreciate it. Now, getting him here that the Saints can operate and run that 3 tight end look, that's another very positive thing. He looks good in the unis. This is Bryce Lance. Lance is going to have to pick up a little size. You can see he's long, man, 6'3", about 215, long arms. And the dude is very productive. You can see a couple of them right here. This is Rasul Rayson, the rookie running back or undrafted running back. We had a couple of those for tryout. That's Oscar right there. I think Oscar's going to be pretty good for us, family. What y'all think of Oscar Delp? This is Mike Hellman, the defensive end, who had 10.5 sacks in college. A lot of people are excited about this, man. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited about him. Looked at the tape on him. The Saints might have found a jewel. When you talk about them getting Xavier Harris and then getting Michael Hellman in the undrafted ranks, I'm really excited about these guys because he can get upfield. He actually do a decent job of setting the edge as well. We're currently working on tape for all our undrafted guys. We did all the draft. We're going to come back to the undrafted guys on the film that should be coming up tomorrow. Just working on it, fam. Trying to get all this stuff done. Barry and Brown right there. You can see right there with Brock Rothsteiner, who is another all-world player trying to make a play. And you Saints just looking for talent anywhere they can get. There's Barry on again. You can see a shot right there from Mekhi Muse catching the pass as a tryout wide receiver. Then you see a couple others. Barry and Brown again. This is a guy that was really excited about getting involved in. That's Coach Mike Williams right here, the wide receiver coach. You can see he working with Muse. And then you can see a couple of the quarterbacks that were throwing is Easton Stick. He has familiarity with Kellen from his time with the Chargers. The 1 year he was there, Easton getting a tryout. So that is Trash. Now, I mean, I'm sorry. Thrash, the quarterback, former Buccaneer, he's there as well. Cody Hardy is another tight end that they're bringing in for a look-see as well. So what I can appreciate is the fact that the Saints are bringing all this talent in, and they bring in players from every particular set. Like they were loaded and littered with positions, wide receiver, running back. They have wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, quarterbacks, offensive linemen, both outside and inside, defensive linemen, outside, inside, linebacker prospects, and DBs, whether they're corners or safeties. The end kicker, they got a kicker trial with Young Wei Koo. There's also a long snapper that came in. They looking to try to bring in, and a punting person, another punter that came in to try to provide some competition as well. So the name of the game is the Saints are letting people know across the board, outside of our starting quarterback and a couple others, that this is an open. There's going to be some stuff going on here. This is undrafted defensive back Jeremiah McClendon at number 48 and Lorenzo Styles, the brother of Sonny Styles, at number 36. So a lot of these are some of the numbers from our players in the rookie minicamp. And it was cool seeing these guys go. I ain't gonna lie to you. I just liked seeing a lot of our talent be involved there as well. And like I said, some of our guys got signed. His Christen Miller signed his 4-year deal, making the complete class of everything as he was there. And Mickey did announce it that he ultimately signed his 4-year contract as a second-round draft pick. I already showed you the particulars on that in terms of, the rookie minicamp breakdown, which is this graphic. 6'3", 321 was picked by the Saints in the second-round selection, 42nd overall out of the University of Georgia. In 43 games of 24 starts, he recorded career totals of 64 tackles for 4 sacks, 11 and a half stops for a loss, 1 pass breakup. And last year, the Georgia native started in 14 contests for the Bulldogs, recording 23 tackles, sack and a half, 4 stops for a loss, and earning Associated Press first team all SEC honors. The Saints have a hell of a player in this kid and Christen. And I just think it's so cool when you see this type of player here, because I think he means a great deal to what the black and gold are going to bring in here, right? So that was really exciting seeing that side of it as well. All right. Also, as we continue to go, man, we go back to the breakdown and what particularly happened for the Saints, just to kind of give you guys kind of a boil down of what potential could be something special and some of the highlights from this rookie period that happened this past weekend. Y'all hit the like button, man, as we keep this going as well. Barian Brown's deep catch. He had the sixth round pick, recorded the highlight of the day on Saturday. He dividing sideline grab from Braylon Braxton, who was another one of those really excellent quarterbacks that are reported to have really impressed the Saints. Braylon Braxton, the Southern Miss quarterback, did really impress the Saints. Will he have an opportunity to earn a bigger invitation? We'll see. Jordyn Tyson Sutton is the first round wide receiver, lived up to his sensational billing. That was the first day, showing suddenness and elusiveness in his route running. Tyson's pop quiz. Now, Saints wide receiver coach Keith Williams gave Tyson a mental test before Friday's practice, and he said the rookie aced it, which is not a surprise because the Saints they really look up to that RAS score. They draft a lot of guys with high scores, which means high IQs mean they have the ability to grasp whatever system they want to happen faster, right? High IQ productive players. It's a recipe for a winning, in my estimation. Jeremiah Wright, his physicality, 330 plus, out of 4th round guard out of Auburn, was described as a mountain of a man and impressed during the trench work drills. He was just moving people around according to takes. And they're really excited about Jeremiah Wright. And like I warned you guys, I talked about Jeremiah Wright. I said to you guys, listen, prior to all this going on, we knew that ultimately there was a hole at the left guard position. This was prior to free agency period. Before the season and going into the season before free agency opened up, that was one of the thought process of the Great Saint Think Tank to not only get the left guard, but draft a guy that can create competition at the opposite guard position, which is what this is. Some people built Jeremiah Wright as a developmental guard. I disagree. He's a lot further along, and some of the insiders agree. They believe, like, a lot of people think that Jeremiah Wright was actually good enough to be a second day pick. The Saints liked him right away. The Senior Bowl situation showed that he's a guy that is built as a road grader. But if you watch the film, and we did this on Patreon, you can see him moving his feet. I mean, moving his feet for a big guy like that. Plus, he got a mean streak. Not too many people get beyond him. And like I said, he ain't a super fast guy, but I'm saying there's a lot to work with Jeremiah Wright right there. And don't be surprised if he presses Cesar Ruiz in camp. Watch out for that. Remember last year? Was it last year? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, last year in training camp. Y'all remember Kellen's first training camp? It was the competition that was going on between with Trevor Penning. Remember, everybody was watching Trevor Penning to see if he could step it up, step out, develop a position for himself. The year prior to that, in the last year of the Dennis Allen administration, there was a lot of heat on him. the first year under Kellen Moore, it was heat on him, but they were moving around to see if he can find a spot. Ultimately, they traded him prior to the deadline last year to the Chargers. So what that's letting you know is some of the Saints are clearing out guys, high picks that were not productive. Think about Trevor Penning, a former first-round draft pick who many would consider, as far as the Saints concerned, a bust. Isaiah Foskey, the snowman. He was another guy that survived a lot of crappy situation for the Saints and not getting pressed, not developing. This was a second-round draft pick guy that ultimately got put in the street by Kellen Moore. They wasn't playing that. So whether you're a high pick or not, you have to produce or be pushed out of the way. They need to have production because the team needs to flip this over, going from losing to winning. That's what we're looking for, right? So don't be surprised if Jeremiah Wright presses, Cesar Ruiz for that spot. Don't be surprised by that. Oscar Delp, he's considered a chess piece, right? He's third round tight end, frequently used by Kellen Moore as a versatile mismatch weapon across different formations. When he drafted him, I knew Kellen Moore was putting in place the 3 tight end look, right? Having Juwan Johnson, having Noah Fant, both on 2-year contracts. Eventually, Oscar Delp acts as the 3rd tight end. They still have Matavo there, the big guy. But nonetheless, what the Saints are looking at is the fact that they understand that they have to develop and get that 3rd tight end, which means when the Saints get into the red zone, they have something else they can go to. They can employ a 3 tight end look, and all of those guys have a block and receiver mindset, right? They can block, and then they can also kind of disperse out and catch the ball with their hands. All 3 of those guys. So they're big weapons. It's a big quarterback. Also, don't forget that Tyler Shuck's speed in the red zone makes him a constant threat as well. And at some point in the season, teams are going to have to dedicate a person to Tyler Shuck, because I'm telling you, he can have the propensity. I wouldn't be surprised with him being healthy all this year. And I don't see him scramble that much, but I've seen that he actually does a good job of getting down too, right? That we want to see Tyler Shuck, if he does scramble, slide down. He's been doing a really good job of doing that. Or just go to the sideline, run out of bounds to have the sideline to protect him, right? So in the end, it's just him running. You might see him chalk up anywhere between 500 to 600 yards just by himself as a runner. It presents a total another matchup issue for defenses. But adding Oscar Delp there, it's going to be a winning formula, because Kellen Moore drafted this man and he sees the gift of the offense and the complete tight end that he can ultimately be. This Oscar Delp kid could probably be, do some stuff special coming down the year. All right, the next bullet point, Braylon Braxton's opportunity. This is the Southern Miss trial QB impressed coaches enough to earn significant reps during this period, including several deep completions this past weekend. So Braylon Braxton's opportunity, the Saints took notice. They like how his scramble ability, got a strong arm, has some accuracy right there. So it's good to see a local product out of Southern Miss have an opportunity to come down there and throw some passes and get on the Saints radar, so to speak, right? We know about Hunter Deckers and all this kind of stuff, but I really do think Braylon Braxton is a better prospect, and the Saints could always use his versatility. He can do a multitude of different things, scramble. This guy's an athlete. He's a bit undersized, but he's a player, though, and the Saints really appreciate him. All right, another bullet point, defensive back flash. Second-year head coach Kellen Moore noticed strong movement from the cornerbacks Jordyn Price and Deshaun Spears during the opening session. Remember, Jordyn Price flashed last year for the Saints in training camp and stuff like that in preseason. As a backup cornerback, a lot of people like Jordyn Price. They think he has the potential to be one of these depth cornerbacks. He has the size, the temperament, kind of raw, working his way through, working on the practice squad to try to make stuff happen. But keep an eye on Jordyn Price. We know they have a few cornerbacks there that's still working ahead of the whole situation, but keep an eye out on Jordyn Price. Other things to make note of. Full draft class signed. Like I just mentioned, all 8 of the 2026 draft picks are under contract. So that's a big plus. The last we commit, like I just talked about, was Christen Miller. The last minute signature of Christen Miller was the final one that he inked the deal on Saturday, get it all done. It was some heavy participation. The camp hosted 55 trial players alongside the drafted rookies and the undrafted free agents. So it was a lot going on this weekend's camp. It was a lot going on because the Saints were involved with 55 players trying out. And I mean, fam, listen, they were trying out at every position: quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver, tackle, guard, not too much on center. Didn't see much on the centers. That's another thing. Coming into the undrafted market, that's a question of center. So maybe everything but center. The defensive end, interior defensive linemen, linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties were all in. Even kickers, young way cool, punters, and a long snapper. All those guys were involved in the 55-man tryout in hopes to see if they can bring some of these people into camp when the time come, right? So that was very illuminating to see that sort of thing take place. Now, the local favorite in Pearl River, Mississippi native Sam Brumsfield, the linebacker, he attended camp seeking an invitation to the OTAs, right? And he was making some plays. So a lot of people like Sam Brumfield. And there may be a spot full of linebacker, right? We know we didn't bring in too many linebackers. Later on, we did bring in the linebacker Anthony Jennings, but Jennings is more as an edge rusher. Not so much a linebacker or whatnot. I guess you can use him depending on how the Saints employ him. But what I'm seeing in terms of Tyree Wilson and Anthony Jennings is edge rushers. The linebacker Sam Brumfield could be a steal, man, if the Saints are looking to hold on to him or give him a camp invitation for the OTAs. Now, the competition, 3 quarterbacks competed for a potential spot on the 90-man training roster, which was good. We talked about Kyle Trask. We also talked about the young quarterback we just mentioned as well, Braylon Braxton, and also Easton Stick. Those guys were in camp throwing passes to wide receivers and tight ends and all this sort of thing. So it was good seeing that, right? The family, and also to talk about the family situation, man. The class had some notable siblings, and people mentioned this before, that Bryce Lance, who was the brother of Trey Lance, and Lorenzo Styles, who was the younger brother of Sonny Styles, who was drafted by the Commanders. So we got some people. And listen, Bryce Lance is going to be big for the Saints in the wide receiver room. Lorenzo Styles is listed unofficially as a backup in the nickel spot or in the third position. So if he has the size, the weight, he's a really, according to his RES score, his RES score is high, and he's a guy with impeccable speed and a good temper, a good mindset. Now, he's a decent tackler, need to work on that thing, process a little faster, but man, 4.24 speed he has is ridiculous. The Saints are, with this guy, trying, maybe they can find a spot somewhere in the secondary and he can be an active member, maybe competing for the nickel spot right now. The nickel spot is the star role, as it were, is open. Some people think that Julian Blackman is there. Jordan Howden is a player for that spot as well. And also unofficially, they're saying that it could possibly be Lorenzo Styles Jr. in that as well. Now, also to kind of talk about the injury and availability side of the rookie minicamp, Tyson's maintenance. His first, Jordyn Tyson, the first round pick this year, didn't practice on Saturday as part of the what they call planned rest day to manage some lingering hamstring issues. So the Saints are making sure that they show him, but at the same time, make sure that they keep him under control in terms of making sure they understand his medicals and what they need to do to get him ready for the season, because we need Tyson to be 100% healthy coming into the season. So whatever soreness or whatever issues the Saints need to use to do to keep him on par so he can be an effective member of the Saints wide receiver room, we'll got to do. And another thing, that's why you can kind of see why Kellen Moore took so many wide receivers too, because you look at Jordyn Tyson dealing with his hamstring issue. They have other guys that can Bryce Lance is a tall wide receiver, about 6'3", can get upfield, but they made sure they get other speed demon wide receivers that can help if injuries happen to either Chris Olave or Jordyn Tyson, God forbid, right? So we know that they won't lose speed or size. If one of those guys go out, they can still keep a hold on a lot of the plays they like to use to get vertical. that's the idea, and I can appreciate that. Christen Miller, the defensive tackle, second round pick, was held out of the on-field drills while recovering from a minor injury, according to the insiders. Xavier Harris was also listed as out. The massive interior defensive tackle was among the players held out for the maintenance on the final day. CJ Donaldson, one of my favorite undrafted guys, he was missing. He was not spotted during the Saturday practice. And then, of course, kickers day off. The Saints gave kickers, including Charlie Smith, the day off Saturday after heavy kicking periods on that Friday. Now, some of the takeaways going forward, is the wide receiver heavy focus. A significant portion of most of the active and interesting players during the sessions were the newly drafted wide receivers. That was the focus of the draft for the Saints was wide receivers. They got 3 of them with the 8 picks, which let us know that they had a heavy focus on improving and flipping that room. We covered this in previous streams. We talked about Kellen Moore's imagination to get vertical with speed and just blow the top off. And when you can do that, when you become one of the fastest teams, and this is the thing of the fast and furious Saints, I'm hoping that can catch on. The fast and furious Saints. I'm going to say it 3 times. The fast and furious Saints. That means the Saints are bringing in ridiculous amounts of speed in the wide receiver room on defense because they want to play fast. They want to get upfield. They want to be explosive. They want to have that dynamic to take the top off the defense. They want all of that. And I can appreciate the fast and furious Saints. There's that new vibe that they're coming with to get vertical in a hurry. The fast and furious Saints. Now the scheme is speed. So Coach Moore emphasized that the rookies are roughly 3 weeks behind veterans in learning the system, making the camp critical for catching up. So a lot of the young people that's catching on, and as Kellen Moore gets into year 2, he wants to get these guys as close as he can to our veterans. And we won't see some of these veterans now. Later on, when we get to OTAs, we'll see that some of our rookies and veterans side by side practicing together, 11 on 11, 7x7, something like that. We'll get an opportunity to see all that down the line as the vets meet with the young people. And ultimately, this will be the off period where a lot of them start developing relationships to help them catch up or learn as much as they need to so they can help the team. Now, the soft tissue caution, after reducing the soft tissues injuries from 71 to 20 last year, the Saints are being extremely cautious with the rookie workloads early on. That's why you've seen a lot of tryout players. A lot of the rookies didn't get the hardcore minutes and all this kind of stuff. They were bringing in the tryout players and just running them through the record. It's not the same. It's not the same amount of, caution, I guess, to say with that versus the undrafted guys, right? But nonetheless, that's a great thing that the soft tissue injuries are down. Now, as we get further into it, the post-DeMario era is here. So the departure of veterans, DeMario Davis to the Jets and Cam Jordyn is a major talking point as the team look for a new defensive leadership. Now, we won't see this truly materialize until we get to OTAs, when we see our veterans come to town and you see some of them start to practice. That's when you'll see leadership started to take root from a defensive standpoint. We know who our leaders are on offense because the Saints have invested more money to the offense than defense, because Kellen Moore knows that if the offensive is explosive and putting points on the board and doing things like that, that helps our defense out, takes pressure off the defense. And like I said, when you lose a double D, a Cam Jordyn, even an Alontae Taylor to a degree, you're going to have some slippage because we have not seen anybody yet fill those roles yet. Like, let's just look at so far, because we've seen enough right now, right? As of right now, we've seen the guys that they have in mind to replace Cam Jordyn. It is Tyree Wilson, and it's Anthony Jennings, right? So it's Tyree Wilson, Anthony Jennings. Those are the guys. Of course, Chris Rump II's been on the team before. He'll operate from the opposite side, but those are the guys that the Saints have brought to the team in an attempt to kind of have that third pass rusher, because they did not add it in the draft. They're kind of doing the undrafted thing. They traded for Tyree Wilson from the Raiders. They said they were going to decline this final year, so they'll basically have a 1-year tryout deal, just like what happened with Chase Young. So it's up to Bo Jackson and Jay Wright, who's the pass rushing coach, to step up and see if they can have similar success how they did with Chase Young to Tyree Wilson. Which, if they can get him together, he has the tools, the size, the speed. They just got to get it all together. I think the pressure is on him this year as well, being that it's on a 1-year prove-it deal. So we'll see how that looks. But that is still the two players they currently have that's supposed to be occupying or taking whatever the position is that Cam Jordyn left behind, as he's still a free agent. Now, people are saying he could possibly come back. Unless they pay his costs. I think it's a monetary issue where I don't think the Saints want to pay his costs. I think that if they were to offer him 3 for $39 or something, anything like close, like $9 or $10 million, I think Cam will come back. But I think whatever the Saints offered him, it was a disrespectful offer to the point that, I just think, I don't think he's going to come back unless the Saints get close to his money. And the Saints don't appear to be even looking in that direction. The Saints are not studying Cam Jordyn. They're looking at trying to get Chris Olave under contract. They're going to try to see if they can get all this stuff done before training camp. We thought the Chris Olave thing was supposed to be done, but it lags on, right? So that's the thing. But in terms of the defense, we will have to, as we get to the OTAs and other aspects of the offseason, leadership, like Caden Ellis was brought in here. Him and Pete Werner is there. Danny Stutzman co-started with Pete Werner last year. He's there. Jalen Ford, and guys like that, or Isaiah Stallbird, who's there. Don't want to forget Isaiah Stallbird. He's there, as well as the linebacker position. So we're looking good at the linebacker position, but who's the leader on defense, right? That's something that has to be worked out. The quarterback depth, despite having the QBs like Tyler Moore stated he wanted to bring an extra arm to ensure high intensity reps for the receivers. That's why you've seen 3 of the guys. You've seen an undrafted guy, Braylon Braxton from Southern Miss. You've seen Kyle Trask, a former 2nd-round pick from the Florida Gators who played with Tampa Bay. He was supposed to be the heir apparent that kind of stepped in there and took over the job, but Baker Mayfield was the one they committed to. And then Easton Stick, a guy that knows Kellen's system. So you still have Spencer Rattler, who's the backup. They brought in Zach Wilson. So it's a very interesting bunch of moves the Saints are making. As Kellen Moore's just going through the motions to see who he likes in terms of the backup QB position, which is interesting. Y'all hit that like button as we keep this thing going, man. We are doing the 2026 rookie minicamp review on what happened at the minicamp, just going over some of the things with you guys that occurred during the rookie minicamp. And then outside of it, it's just a lot of fantastic stuff that occurred as well. Now, I wonder if, as we move forward, like what would be, what to some of the family members that they see, they think that would need more of attention. Like I said myself, I think a lot of it, the backup center position is something that we're looking at, but I think there's still other things to kind of look at, if you ask me, the Saints have yet to address going forward. Now, as we continue the rookie minicamp review, the Paris game anticipation, let's throw this in here. The team is awaiting a May the 14th schedule release. We'll be on live as this happens. Well, I'll try to be on live. We'll see what goes on there. But the team is waiting May 14th schedule release to see when they will travel for the inaugural game in Paris. I think we got the Browns. We'll be meeting the Browns in Paris. That'll be fun. And of course, the next milestone, the Saints will transition to the OTAs, or organized team activities, beginning May the 27th to the 28th. So we got a couple of weeks to go before we transition to the OTAs. So nonetheless, I just think that was fascinating, to be honest with you, to look at what the black and gold can ultimately do in an attempt to take this thing in the next direction. And listen, I am absolutely loving it. I think it's time for the Saints, to be honest with you, it's time for us to kind of ratchet this thing up. Don't y'all feel the same way, fam? I think it's time for us to kind of ratchet this thing up. I think it's time for the Saints to move this in a position where we as a team are going to be a contender. We need to move it in that direction where we can be able to kind of step this thing up. Hold on, let me get some of the highlights. Shout out to Demario Davis. That's what I'm saying, man. I was looking at this as in knowing that Demario is gone. So if Demario Davis is gone, somebody got to step up and fulfill that obligation to do what they got to do and be a better and take over the leadership ability going forward. But what do you guys think of the preview? Which moments did you like? If there was any particular players that you guys preferred or really liked that happened during the rookie mini camp? I think it was a very successful rookie mini camp. We got a good first look at some of our draft picks. They look good. A lot of these guys look like they're ready to play football right now. They're in great condition, they're in great spirits. And I just thought it was really cool to see a lot of these guys out there performing and doing the due diligence and everything. And I think Kellen Moore also, like many people talk about Q, you look pretty excited. You look proud at Kellen Moore. Yeah, I'm very proud of Kellen Moore, man. You can see that in this second year, he's enjoying it a little bit more. He knows his team more. He's bringing more competition, and things are becoming fun again, football wise. Like I said, last year we won 6 games, but that back end of the season was very fun. We got swept by the Falcons, which is not too fun. But the bottom line is we didn't really care. We got swept by the Falcons. We didn't give a damn. It was like, okay, yeah, cool. Y'all got that. It's all gravy. We didn't care, which is really insane to me. When that kind of stuff happened, then that kind of like let us know straight off the bat that, hey, man, a lot of positives to what the Saints were doing last year in an attempt to kind of change this thing around. And as they say right here, set the tone to be better in the city for the black and gold. And I think that's the thing that we wanted to see. Like, we wanted to see the Saints go in a direction, improve, and do some positive stuff that's going to move this team in the proper direction and make things on point. And I think that's where it stands in the city of New Orleans, that we're ready, man. We're ready to get back to the playoffs. And listen, I'm not putting undue pressure, but that's what usually it is every year, is the fact that the Saints are looking to kind of get back into the playoffs after missing it. Hold on, let me see if I can get that on screen. Here it is right here. Hold on, I'm sorry, y'all. Let me see if I can get my graphic on screen about the playoffs missed. Let's see. That's the schedule. That's it. I might not have it here, but y'all get my idea, man. Y'all get the idea of what I'm talking about here, moving forward. But nonetheless, it's interesting and fun, man, to watch this go on, because I think the New Orleans Saints are ready for big things. You can feel the energy. You can understand that the team is focused and determined and ready to step this thing up, man. And like I said, we know that it's a work in progress. But like I said, to go from worst to first, we've seen teams do it before. And I think if the Saints just take their time and keep improving and building on what they've done and are doing now, getting stronger, you can see the injuries coming down. So there was an impact of getting Rath here, getting him down here to help out. They cut down the soft tissue injuries from 70 to 20, which really helped. And hopefully the Saints improved on the depth. We got certain players like the Salad, who is inspired to play better football. There's competition on that side. We got a new left guard. So the Saints offensive line has improved greatly from what it was last year. And I'm just loving it all the way to the bank. I'm going to be honest with you, fam. So that's what I got. All right. Anyway, let me ask you guys something. What do you guys think? Put it in the chat below. Let me know how you feel about this here with the black and gold. What was your favorite moment of the rookie minicamp 2026? Let me know which particular players you liked, who made an impression on you, which undrafted free agent really made an impression, draft pick, whatever. What do you guys think? What do you think about Young Wei Koo and Trask and Easton Stick and all these guys coming for tryouts? Do you like that? How do you feel about that? Let me know in the comments section below, man, because it feels good, man, to have this great energy that the team is bringing. Love it, man. Love it. All right.
This is New Orleans!
Hey, New Orleans! Whether you're catching up on Saints news at Jackson Square, checking Pelicans scores in the Garden District, or staying updated on LSU while grabbing coffee in the French Quarter, there's one place that keeps you connected to everything that matters in our city. From Bourbon Street to the Superdome, from Preservation Hall to the Riverfront, New Orleanians are staying in the know with the whodatdaily.com. Your daily source for Saints, Pelicans, LSU, and all the sports, music, and culture that makes our city special. At work downtown, at a game in the Dome, or just relaxing by the Mississippi, wherever life takes you in the Big Easy, you can stay connected. Because when you're from New Orleans, you don't just live here. You stay in the NO. That's stay in the know. Visit the WhoDatDaily.com and never miss what matters most to Who Dat Nation.
Welcome to the Pro Shop, where we create authentic NOLA-inspired clothing for men, women, and children. From Saints jerseys to Pelicans gear, everything's crafted right here in New Orleans. Whether you're shopping the Pro Shop, the Pel Shop, or the Pro Shop Kids, we've got your whole family covered with genuine merchandise that represents our city's spirit. Check for links in the description section below or in the chat.